All right, and we're back. Any Given Sunday Sports Special. It's your boy Jesus. I got my main man Anthony. Steve is a no-show today. Surprise, surprise. But it's all right. You got your big two in Anthony and Jesus. Anthony, what's good, homie?
Everything's all good over here. I guess Steve taking his victory lap. That's why he didn't want to come on. He said he had some work to do in the swamp. He just, when you wear the crown, you ain't got time for the little one. So I get it, man. It's okay.
Man, listen. If I had a nickel for every time he's called out, I'd be a rich man. Just messing with you. But let's get right to it. We got a lot of games to recap. Anthony, we're going to go ahead. We're going to start off with one of the bigger blowouts of the week. Let's start off actually with Dream Killers versus Dr. Evil in Dennis. Dennis takes this 112-76. Anthony, I'll let you start it off, bro. What are your feelings on this game?
You know what? It's been a very weird season. I mean, it's like you repeated before. He needs to fix the quarterback situation, and his team is really based upon Le'Veon Bell. If he goes, he's in contention. If he doesn't, he's in trouble. I think the way that the NFL is set up, and basically you don't get a lot of practice time. You only get, I think, during training camp maybe 16 padded practices. Guys aren't ready for it. You're not used to it. I think everything is kind of starting off slow this season. With a guy like Bell, he didn't play all preseason. Like I said, he's physically there, but it's taking his time. I mean, he got 8 points. He got a really big game from C.J. Anderson, but that quarterback situation is still troublesome. I mean, I do like Russell Wilson as a person, but as a player and that team and that line, I mean, that's just Troubleville. On the other side, what can you say? You really got to tip your hat to Dr. Evil. I mean, everything was a go. Every guy who he needed to show up definitely did. Crabtree, 3 touchdowns. That's a great game from him. You got another score from Jeffrey Gurley. Like I said, I had him before in another league, and you was worried about him and how things were going to go. He really looked back at himself. I mean, 22 points from him. He didn't get much from Mariota or from Cousins, but in reality, you take the guy that you have there, you start him. I think he's going to do the best he can with him. I can't complain. It was just, it's just a bunch of advantages all across the board. I mean, even though you got 26 from C.J. Anderson, a lot of other stuff went on, so, you can't complain. Tip my hat to Dr. Evil. Great job.
Yep. First of all, tip your cap to Dr. Evil. Dennis, I try to tell everybody before the season that I felt he had one of the top teams coming out of the draft. Some actually thought I was crazy. I'm out of my mind. I don't think I'm out of my mind. And, granted, is he going to get 26 from Crabtree every week? Absolutely not. But I do think Todd Gurley is this good. I do think he is. His quarterback situation is a little bit in flux, and I also think his tight end situation is in flux a bit too. But I think if he plays Evan Ingram, I think each week you're going to see Evan Ingram more and more involved, simply just because the Giants' offense can't pass block. So Evan Ingram is going to be getting those passes in the middle of the field because they got to get rid of it so fast. Doesn't give Odell Beckham his chance to run his routes, and Brandon Marshall can't catch the ball. So I think Evan Ingram's going to fill in nicely there. But I think Dennis is going to be a formidable threat overall. He's just a good overall coach. His team, it kind of reminds you of like old school rich type of teams. There's not the most sexiest team, but it's just a good team all around. I do think he needs to make a move for a quarterback. Is there one to be made out there? I'm not sure. Think about how dangerous this is going to be. When Andrew Luck returns, T.Y. Hilton's value goes up. When the suspension is over, Doug Martin returns. I mean, this team could really be something special as guys start to come back and they get healthy again. His quarterback situation, like I said, it scares me, but we'll see coming down the road. Dennis is a smart guy. He'll figure something out. On the other side, man, it's like I said. What's up?
No. I mean, quite simply, it kind of goes back to what we said before the draft and everything else like that. You see the draft and like, I don't know about this. I don't grow like that. It's almost similar to the NFL draft. You do it. You make your snap decisions on what you think would work and what might work. But I always said, none of that really matters. So you get the guys out on the floor. You let them play. Like I said, you're kind of iffy about the draft. Like, okay, you got some guys, but maybe it's not the greatest of things, and there's other situations. But,
Dennis just has a good team.
Put together a solid team before.
Yeah.
It's what he does. He's very good at it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Dalvin Cook has 6 points. But this week, people, I watched football, and I watched a lot of it. Dalvin Cook technically could have had easily 12 points. He got them to the 1 yard line, and then they handed it off to the fullback to push it in for the touchdown. That was, he took that touchdown from Cook because that was Cook's touchdown. So, I mean, I think Dennis had a solid overall week. On the other side, Lewis, my man, I said this before, and I'll continue to say it. Russell Wilson cannot be relied on until after week 10. He needs to get himself another quarterback, and he needs it in the worst way. Golden Tate, horrible, 2 points. Sterling Shepard, horrible, 2 points. And explain this to me. Doug Martin being suspended. Why on God's green earth would you bench Jacquizz Rodgers? I don't get that. That's a starting running back in this league, and you benched him for Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate. I don't understand that. This game could have been a whole lot uglier if it wasn't for C.J. Anderson. And what sucks is that's probably gonna be the best game you're gonna get from C.J. Anderson all year. And it went to the wayside. That's a real possibility. Yeah, and it went to the wayside because
that's real.
It's would have lost, So it kind of sucks. And then I do like somebody that he has on his bench, and that's Allen from Baltimore. Because of the injury to Woodhead, Allen is going to get a lot of play. I would love to see him find a way to play Jacquizz Rodgers until Martin gets back, and to play Allen as much as possible. Figure that situation. I know it's going to be hard to put them both because you can't take C.J. Anderson out of the flex. Le'Veon Bell can't go bench, so it's going to be hard. But maybe trade one of them. Maybe trade one. Get yourself a quarterback. Get something.
I mean, even outside of quarterback, looking at his roster right now, he doesn't have a tight end, and Greg Olson's on IR, so that might be a big look for him. You might have to just swing one of those running backs for a tight end. I know you can get one, especially the way that Javorius Allen's been running. So
that's actually very true. I don't know contact Dom, Tyler Eifert. Try to get a Tyler Eifert. Contact Sean. Try to get a Zach Ertz. There's moves to be made out there. So he has a lot of options that he can do. I do think he's gonna try to. It's just with Lewis. Lewis is hard to make trades with. I would say him and Rich are probably the two most difficult ones to make deals with in this league. So I would like to see him do it. Do I think he will? I'm not too sure about that. Next game up, we're gonna go with let's go with slap. No, that was a really good game. Let's go with my blowout. 117, the New York Powers defeat Florida Thirst Traps Gabe's team 61. I almost doubled them up. I was so close. But yeah, matter of fact, did I double them up? No, I didn't. But yeah, so
close.
What's your thoughts on this, Anthony?
Here's the reality. And I did this before, and I thought about it, and like I said, I was worried about Cam Newton, and I wanted a trade partner for him. I think Cam will eventually turn it around. I think Phillip Rivers isn't a sexy choice. He really isn't, but he works. It works for what they're doing in that offense. It works. Like I said, you got a running back in Melvin Gordon who gets a bunch of touches and gets touchdowns and gets his points that way. But it's an air raid offense. They like to throw it around. They tend to be behind quickly. It works. You might not want to sit Cam, but with also Olsen, Benjamin's coming around, McCaffrey trying to get his footing. You hope, that Cam Newton kind of gets it together, but it might be time, to swing Phillip Rivers in there. You spend all this money for Odell Beckham, and it's not a bad idea. It's really not. But in reality, the guy's not healthy. He's just not there yet. You're trying, so on and so forth. Tyreek Hill, as fast and as talented as he is, he's just a bit player in that offense. I'm not trying to dismiss the guy, but in reality, a lot of touches are going towards Hunt. A lot of touches are still going towards Kelsey. They're doing a lot of things in that offense, moving things around. And like I said, you want one of your guys at least give you 15, but no one was really there. On the other side, you get what you pay for. You got Brady. He put up the 30, which you're totally used to. He went crazy in the first half. You got to love the guy. Melvin Gordon, like I said, not a lot of running yards, but he gets in the end zone. Whenever they're inside the 5, it's Gordon time. It happens every single time. Gronk shows up. Like I said, he tweaks the groin, but let's see how health works out. Everything might be okay. I know we had a discussion before off air about Ty Montgomery and another option, but he worked out fine. McCaffrey, I think, is still going to come around. Like I said, with Cam, I think you really want to keep him safe. I think they're going to get him more and more involved. Like I said, it's just a great job when you have those three pieces. When you have Brady, when you have Gronk, when you have Montgomery. Like I said, Antonio Brown didn't have his greatest game, but like I said, high ceiling. He's going to come back to it. Like I said, he's maybe your second best player, and you still put up 117. That's a fantastic job by the Powers. Anyone else who disagrees otherwise is probably crazy. This team is set. They're ready. They're doing their job. They got things to worry about in the bench, but that's for the future. Right now, if they really wanted to get another big piece, they still have Carson Wentz there if you wanted to move him away and get something else out of that because he's starting off on fire. But what can you say, man? You really got to tip your hat to the Powers. This is what they do. They get a little nervous, but like I said, they got good coaching, good GMing. Once they got their mindset, they get their roster set, they're in good shape. Great job.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I'll be honest with you. I got to study a lot this week with my guys, and one thing I will be honest that is concerning me, and I read up about it a lot, is if we're just being honest, the one weakness on this team is that second flex position, because Christian McCaffrey, he's just not getting red zone touches, and now defenses are starting to lock in on him. I don't know what was the difference between week 1 and week 2, but the Bills were locked in on McCaffrey. Absolutely locked in on him. And that makes it very difficult, which may force us to put in Demaryius Thomas a little bit more, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Trevor Siemian has 5 touchdowns already in the first 2 games. So, I mean, he's playing very, very well. So I don't have a problem doing that. But yeah, and you also said that the bench is a little bit scary. Hunter Henry finally is coming back, but Paul Perkins is trash. I mean, maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's the O-line, but he's just trash at the end of the day.
Hey, man, in reality, you can't fault Paul. If you're only getting 7 carries, what can you do?
I mean, yeah, that's true. It's tough, but I know I was watching Orleans Darkwa breaking a few runs. Even Orleans Darkwa broke a few runs compared to Paul Perkins. So what is it that Darkwa's doing that the other guy isn't? That's what I'm curious. On the other side, Gabe has a little bit of a dilemma because at some point in time, you're going to have to consider putting in Phillip Rivers. I don't think it's next week, though, because Cam Newton against that New Orleans defense, I'm all about that. But I think if Cam doesn't get it done next week, I think going forward, Phillip Rivers takes that job. Mark Ingram, if there's one thing that we know now for sure, is Mark Ingram is ahead of Adrian Peterson in the depth chart. So anybody who felt differently, it's official. That's the case. Randall Cobb is back. This is, he was very, very active. Tyreek Hill only gave him 4 points, but that's not the Tyreek Hill that you could probably going to see more consistently. He's going to give you more than that. I love Carlos Hyde. I thought he played very well. Certainly. And then the one thing that you need to be concerned about is that Jordan Howard injury. That could be a thorn in the side for Gabe. Gabe's going to have to make some moves this week. I think Darren McFadden, goodbye, adios. He could go. That's fine. Kick rocks. And I think he's going to have to make a decision. Brandon Coleman had a good game. Maybe hold him for one more week, but then I believe Snead comes back after that. So, it's Gabe's in trouble. I think Wallace has to go too. So he has 2 guys he can drop, and he's going to have to be active this week in that waiver wire. And, we'll see. We'll see how it all turns out.
Yeah, it's waiver wires, it's trades. I think you give Brandon Coleman one more week. I believe the idea, the fact that you're saying, like, Willie Snead does come back. But like I said, if Coleman is this guy, you have Coleman and Thomas and Snead, and that offense is already, pretty good. The defense is another thing all into itself. But if you get that going, and I mean, the third option and the Saints offense is at worst, maybe a wide receiver 3 at worst. Because, like I said, they're going to fling the ball around. I do believe that there are some moves that need to be made. That Jordan Howard injury is very particular. When a guy leaves the locker room with his arm in a sling, you're hoping that, maybe he just, maybe a precaution or something to that degree. But in reality, you really got to worry. But like I said, there's some pieces here that need to be moved. I think, like I said, Wallace can go. McFadden can definitely go. Like I said, we talked about LeGarrette Blount, but maybe he plays a bigger role in regards to how this team's going to go, especially with Howard out. But, we're going to see. I got faith in the guy. We're going to see how he works it out. I can't complain about what he's doing right now. It's just a bad week. We all had bad ones, so.
And Gabe, do not trade Phillip Rivers. I don't care what the offer is. Do not trade Phillip Rivers because you have to see what you have in Cam Newton first. So you're probably going to get a ton of offers for Phillip Rivers. Do not move him. All right, let's go to the next game.
Yeah, I think
what's up?
Patient, boss.
Yep, patience is the virtue. Patient. Now, next up, we're going to go to a slightly punty vibe. Gets 84 and defeats Dom for 68 points. it was a poor performance. I'll go first on this one, Anthony, just to get ahead so you could, pat yourself on the back a little bit. It's funny, right? Because I told you, I specifically told you, don't you dare play Carson Palmer this week. Don't you dare play Carson. You better play Winston. And Carson Palmer actually outscored Winston. It was pretty crazy. But if anybody who watched the game, Carson Palmer looked horrible. Horrible. He looked horrible on that game. So, yeah, okay, granted, he got you more points, but he got to go. He's not cutting it. On the, I like Terrence West because there's really nothing else out there. It's kind of scary with Terrence West a little bit because he's touchdown dependent. If he doesn't get you a touchdown, what does he have? Like, I believe it's 3 points he would have had. I'm sorry, 4 points. He had 4 points for you. So, that's a little bit scary. Watkins, I don't know what's going to happen there. And then you just look at your bench. I think Amir Abdullah's making a case for himself, and so is Parker. So, you're going to have some decisions. Brandon Marshall, Anthony, I don't know at what point, but you may have to sell at some point in time to a team that's willing to be patient on them. You may have to consider at some point in time making that move, and maybe it's for a tight end, maybe it's maybe it's for a Dom and getting an Eifert and something else, or working some kind of a deal out. I think that now's the time, Anthony, because yes, you're 2-0, but you're also one of the lower scoring teams in the league, so you have to look at the overall big picture in that matter. And you being one of the lower scoring teams in the league, and now your schedule is going to get a little bit tougher. Don't sit on that 2-0 and be happy. Look to improve. Look to get better.
Oh, I'm not.
On the other side.
Oh, I'm not.
What happened? Oh, you're not. Good. And on the other side, Dom. Yeah, man. Look, I trash Dom a lot, and I stick to what I've said. I don't like his team. I don't at all. But I never thought it was this bad. 2 from Murray, 3 from Cooper, 4 from Reed, 2 from Fitzgerald. That is just that's overall just horrible. And then he leaves 15 from Adams on his bench, 15 from Henry. So yeah, it was bad. It was a bad week, and he'll bounce back. I don't think I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it now. I don't think he's a playoff team, but who knows? If he makes 1 or 2 moves, things can change. But as of right now, he's not a playoff team. And then one last thing, going back to your team, Anthony, Isaiah Crowell. I keep telling you, and I'll say it again, he's not a good NFL running back. What you got, boss?
Well. Look, the scores are low, and I understand that, and I know that things need to be, situated a little bit better. And I realize that certain moves need to be made. Now, in reality, I probably would and do need help at tight end. But I'm under the real guys, and I truly believe if you don't have Gronk or if you don't have Kelsey, it really doesn't matter. I mean, Rudolph got 4, but so did Jordan Reed, and Jordan Reed's ranked higher than him. AJ Green, and that kind of goes on to the Tyler Eifert thing. It's not necessarily like Green made a catch with basically 3 guys around him. He's the key to that offense, and he got 6 points. And that was it. Like I said, you want Eifert to get involved and everything else like that, but right now that Cincinnati offense is trash. Everything about it is terrible. I don't know what you can do to fix that. Something else at that degree. You got Larry Fitzgerald. All right, everyone loves Larry, but right now he's not functioning. I don't think it's an age thing, just the way that offense is set up. I think, maybe going forward, depending on the Jordy Nelson injury, if Jordy's going to be out for a game or 2, put in Adams. That was the big difference last year, when it's one of those 2 guys. I know they have 3 with Cobb and Nelson and Adams, and that's great. But when one of those guys gets hurt, one of them always steps up. And I think that might be the route he's going to go. I wouldn't worry about the DeMarco Murray injury too much because I think Derrick Henry, I think he's just about ready for that job. I think he steps in soon if that's a long-term kind of thing. For me, I can't fault Jameis Winston. He played a very good professional quarterback game, not a great fantasy game. He didn't do anything crazy. He didn't turn the ball over, but sometimes you need a little bit of risk taking. That's why you have Deshaun Jackson and Howard and all these other weapons. You want to stretch the field the best you can. I like Keenan Allen. Like I said, he didn't get to the end zone, but he's Phillip Rivers' favorite target. He looks healthy. Hopkins is Hopkins. Like I said, I can't bench the guy because he's getting a ton of targets. He just needs to do a little bit better. There are some moves that I am in the process of making. There's some teams that I'm interested in moving around. Like Crowell might be out there. Marshall will more likely definitely be out there. I think Devontae Parker, he may just start this week. I want to see how the matchups go. I think he's a solid player. He's doing great right now in Miami. It's been only one game, but he seems to be a key target. There are some things we need to do. There are absolutely. If you want to be a competing team, you probably get at least 95 points a week. We haven't cracked that barrier, but we're going to do the best we can. We're going to ride this vibe. We're going to see how we're going to do in the future. All respect to Tom. It was a tough game. Came out close. His guys didn't show up, but more power in the future. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if we can make some moves. It's early in the season. I don't think anybody should panic. Not him, but let's just see how it goes.
All right.
But let's move on to the next game.
Next one up, we're gonna do Telegram versus Tampa's Empire. The one I tried to tell you and Steve what was gonna happen. Steve didn't even believe in himself. I believed in him more than he did. I tried to tell all you guys, stop drinking the Kool-Aid. It was one game. Let's see more first from Pops. And you guys were on the bandwagon. You guys were the top cheerleaders for Pops. And this is what happens. 102-76 is not that I'm saying Pops' team is trash. Is what I'm saying is let's not overreact to one game, because I still saw Pops' team as a middle of the road team. And that's exactly what you saw this week. Aaron Rodgers, 21 points. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to do what he does. Kareem Hunt, 22 points. He's going to do what he does. Let's just say Ezekiel Elliott would have showed up and would have played his game, put about 15 points or so. He still only puts up 90 points. Because I don't like Macklin. I don't like Baldwin. I don't like Jimmy Graham. I don't like McCoy. I try to tell you, this is what Pops' team is. And that's what you're going to be seeing going forward. On the other side, Tampa's Empire is just a good, solid overall team. And once they get luck back, that's when things really kick into gear. I'm concerned with this Jordy Nelson. Maybe, Anthony, you have an update. I don't have one. But the Jordy Nelson injury could be a real issue because Steve lacks depth. And I don't think Terrell Pryor is a good number 2 receiver. Martavius Bryant, while he is good, he's a Deshaun Jackson-like type of receiver where if he doesn't get that big play, there's a good chance he's going to get you maybe 3-4 points, if that. So yeah, but the one thing is Steve knows how to pick defenses, man. He's he's the greatest person at picking defenses I've ever seen, hands down. So yeah, that's where we stand. What you got, Anthony?
Like I said it before, it's a real possibility that they're probably going to go on a winning streak. And you got Stafford, and Stafford did okay on Monday night, but he still got you 16. And between Stafford getting 16 and you have Aaron Rodgers on the other side, and it's only a 5-point difference. That's huge because you're expecting Aaron Rodgers to get you 25 to 30 to kind of make like I win this matchup week in week out, but it didn't happen. Like I said, Jacksonville ain't what we thought they were. The quarterback's still trash, but like I said, they're still trying to make a real effort to run the ball. They're giving it to Fournette. They're force-feeding him. He's getting his touchdowns. He's getting his yards. Mike Evans is Mike Evans, so you can't really complain about that. Jay Ajayi had a really great first game. You worry about the wide receiver matchup, with Nelson. It's 50-50 right now with Pryor not really showing up because the Washington offense is struggling right now. But if you got to play a guy like Martavis Bryant, you go for it. You play a guy like Marvin Jones, you go for it, because in reality, they're your number 2 guys. You just need Mike Evans to show up, and hopefully something else works out. Like I said, on the other side, you have Baldwin and Macklin. They combined for 13. Evans by himself had 15. That's what you want your number 1 target to do. For Pops, like I said, it's a really great setup with Rodgers, Elliott, McCoy, and Hunt, and everything to that degree. But if McCoy doesn't show up, or Elliott doesn't show up, there's not really much out there. You need Aaron Rodgers to go crazy. Kareem Hunt has been doing well his first 2 games, but I don't know if I'm expecting this throughout the whole season. If he does, it still keeps him in contention. I think there's some things and some moves that need to be made. I think there's a real possibility, especially with the way that Seattle offense is set up. Chris Carson's going to get a lot more touches. I absolutely believe that to the heart of me. If Sam Bradford is healthy, then you can play a guy like Diggs or Thielen, but right now they don't really have any value. And that's the thing with Sam Bradford. Talented guy, tends to get hurt, check down Charlie. But, hopefully Pops makes some moves. Or if he just feels comfortable with his 3 running backs and his quarterbacks, if they show up, he's going to be, a contender every single week. So maybe it's just a rough week. But I do think that Steve's team is very talented. They're tough. And I think they're going to be a problem.
All right, let's go to the last one. And this game went down to the wire. Sean was sweating it out. Sean Slapsauce 113 beats McPoon handling Goat Engines 106. Wow, that was a good game. I mean, my overall quick thoughts is this is what I try to tell everyone that Sean's team is, which is just a well, evenly balanced team. I know you guys didn't want to believe me, but if you just look at it, 26 from Breeze, 10 from Lynch, 11 from Dez, 18 from Emmanuel Sanders, 16 from Kelsey, 10 from Gore. Peterson is, well, I don't know what that is. He has the Seattle defense, and he has one of the best kickers in the game. And then you just look at his bench. Matt Forte, 8 points. Zach Ertz, 9. James White, 9. He has a good team. On the other side, it's always going to come down to the fact that he has a big three, and he's very reliant on. That's Derek Carr, Devontae Freeman, and Julio Jones. And he's very reliant on them. And in this case, Julio Jones only had 10 points, and the worst part about it is he had 9 at halftime, and then they just stopped going to him.
Yeah.
And this is what I try to tell everybody: as great as Julio Jones is, he doesn't score touchdowns. Nobody listens to me, and maybe at some point in time, people will start listening to me. But Slap Sauce, I told everybody you weren't dead yet. Nobody believed me, but I was right. Go ahead, Anthony. I know this one kind of bothered you a little bit, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Hey, I didn't believe in Slap Sauce either. I thought he was getting a little bit emotional. I thought his team was going to fold up, but you know what? The way his lineup is set up, and I think with anything in fantasy, if you can get a guy who can get you in the end zone, you are going to get your 6. And so we have Breeze. He's a quarterback. We're not going to worry about him. Lynn scored. Brian scored. I think Sanders scored twice. Kelsey scored. Gore scored. Like I said, when you got guys that are those threats, and you know that in certain situations, especially inside the red zone, they're going to get the ball, and you have offenses that can get you there, you're going to do good things. I think that team is set up really well for success in the future. Look, as great as the guy is, you're going to have to just let Adrian Peterson go. It's not happening. Not with this team. I don't know what's out there, but he's just basically taking up a roster spot right now. But you got depth there. Like I said, you still got Forte. You still got Matt Ryan coming off the bench. You got Zach Ertz. You got some talent there that can kind of do things. On the opposite side, when McBoone go handles, it's just a hard loss. They can't really, hold their head down over this one because things just kind of didn't work out that way. Walker did a good job as a tight end, and that Tennessee offense, like I said, you have another guy and Henry giving you 15, so you see where the carries and where the points are going. But, I mean, still getting 12 out of it, it's an excellent job. But like I said, when you're depending on Carr, depending on Freeman and Jones, 2 guys on the same team, so if Atlanta has a bad week and it's going to affect those 2 guys, you're more than likely going to lose. The Ravens defense is an excellent pickup. They look like world beaters again. I'm not certain what they're going to do with that bench. Dalton's got to go. Josh Dotson, that Washington offense is not there. He's got to go too. Aguilar, I mean, you don't get rid of him. I think, he had the touchdown last week. He had one this week. It was a short one, but points are points. But I think there's some moves that need to be made, or he could just stand back and just kind of just ride with McBoone. I don't have an issue with it, but, ride what got you there. You got to the playoffs doing the same thing last year. If you trust the process and you trust how it's going to go, just keep doing that. I can't fault the guy. It was a tough loss. It came down to the end. Great job by Sean. Rich, hold your head up. You got him next week.
All right. Now we're going to get to our picks. And we have a really, really tough one. I mean, this may be the most desperate game of the week. Both teams are 0-2. McBoone Anthony, go Engines, going up against the Dream Killers. Anthony, somebody's got to win this one, and this is, I mean, I don't want to say you're eliminated at 0-3, but it's a pretty deep hole to be in. So
super.
Yeah, what do you got on this one?
You know what? Give me McBoone. I just think right now the matchup will work in their favor. I think Carr against Washington, like I said, Washington is not really good. Freeman and Julio Jones against Detroit. I don't think that Detroit defense is really good. They looked great against the Giants, but again, we're going to kill our biases right now for that. I really not want to talk about it because I don't want to get into another deep depression. Michael Thomas against Carolina is a really good matchup. That Ravens defense against that Jags offense, and it's an away game overseas in England at 9:30 in the morning. These games, they're never high-scoring games. Your body clock's off. Everything's just not right. You're in a foreign land in a foreign room. It's just not there. And that, like I said before, that Ravens defense is really good. On the opposite side, Russell Wilson against Tennessee, their defense is good. I think Le'Veon Bell finally gets on track against Chicago. This third game is almost like his third preseason game. He'll be ready for it. I don't trust Golden Tate. Jarvis Landry might be a good matchup, and now he needs to find a tight end. I don't think C.J. Anderson goes crazy like he did last week. And again, Allen against Jacksonville is a good matchup, but again, it's an early morning game in another country, so it's not going to be the easiest thing that he's going to do. And I don't really see much on the bench that's really going to help him. So this week, let me get Big Poon.
All right. For the record, I know everybody wants to know. Last week, Steve and Anthony both went 3-2 with their picks. Of course, the great one.
Yeah.
Myself, I went 4-1. The only one I got wrong was I actually picked Dom to beat Anthony. I don't know why I picked Dom, right? I don't know what is wrong with me. I crush his team, and then I go and I pick him, and then he does that. Thanks, Dom. So now I'm up.
Hey, man, the heat's strong. The heat's strong. It blinds you.
Yeah, man. So I'm actually gonna go here. Oh man, you just look at it. Carr against Washington, Freeman against Detroit, Cooks against Houston. Yeah, Julio Jones, and then on the other side, I just don't trust Wilson. I don't trust Tate. I don't trust Landry in a non-PPR league. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with McPoon in this game. I just think that they're just a better team. They're in better position right now. So it's just, to me, it's an easy pick. Now, I did tell Lewis, and I had a conversation with him. He does need to make some moves. Whether he decides to listen or not is a whole nother story. That's going to be something completely different. But also, just for the record, everybody knows Rich is also picked by Steve. So Steve picks Rich as well in this game. So we're going to go to our next game. And our next game up, we're going to do Florida Thirst Traps, Gabe versus Telegram Pops. Anthony, what you got here?
I don't think that Pops has 2 bad weeks in a row. I don't see it. They're playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not really good. I think Kareem Hunt, I don't think he gets another 20-point week, but 12 to 15, sure, I can see that. I think it's questionable playing Diggs against Tampa Bay. That defense did do very well last week. I don't think they're anything to play with, and I don't think that Bradford will be back this week. If he is, maybe you shifted a bit, but he doesn't frighten me against that team. I think Elliott against Arizona is a good matchup. McCoy against Denver is a really tough one, but I think with Rodgers and Hunt and you know what?
Switch it.
Let's stop there. Let's look on the other side of the board. Let's not go so crazy.
Thank you.
Let's not.
I'm like, what are you looking at?
Let's rewind this a bit. Okay. Tyreek Hill against the Chargers, I think that's a good matchup. Cam against New Orleans, I think that's the key to it. If Cam shows up and is the Cam that he should be against that defense, which he historically has been, that should be good. It might be a low-key shootout. I think Mark Ingram, like I said, he's the lead back in that. I think Brandon Cobb does step up if Jordy Nelson doesn't play. I don't really trust Clay. Howard is and Carlos Hyde's tough. I can't really deny that. I think if he moves Howard out and he gets Beckham involved. Now, I know, like I said, we're not going to make this Giant-centric. But if they're in desperation mode and they feel that he's healthy enough just to keep out on the floor and play.
You paid $96 for him. You playing Odell Beckham. You're playing Odell Beckham. He's going to play Odell.
You know what? If you put Beckham in there and, like I said, they're in desperation mode, you know what? Give me the thirst traps this week. For this week, yeah, let me get the traps.
Give me the thirst traps this week, next week, and any other week that they play Pops. As of right now, they're just a better team than Pops. They're just a better team. Let's look at it overall. Kareem Hunt, I like him. Fine. He's better than almost anybody that Gabe has. So is Aaron Rodgers. So is Zeke Elliott, right? But then what about everything else? I like Tyreek Hill. I like Odell Beckham. I like Carlos Hyde. Randall Cobb, I even like myself as well. Mark Ingram is getting touches. Odell Beckham, this is a good team. And this is nothing against Pops. Pops has a good team as well. But Gabe's team, to me, is better balanced. I don't like Doug Baldwin. I say it all the time, especially not until after Week 10. After Week 10, Doug Baldwin's in business. He's going to be money for you. But until then, he's not money. Stephon Diggs, I don't even know if Bradford is going to play, which means Case Keenum is your quarterback. And, Case Keenum is not... No, he's not going to help anybody. And then you got McCoy going against Denver.
Case Keenum.
Yeah, exactly.
He's Case Keenum.
Let's be real. And then you got Zeke Elliott against Arizona defense. No, I'm sorry. Give me the thirst traps and give me the thirst traps all day. And Steve actually picks Pops on this, and I don't think Steve studied it. Because he's just going based off of the history, Pops being a better coach and a better GM. But if you just look at the matchups, I don't see how you can pick Pops. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Gabe in this one, and again, Steve picks Pops. So it's 2-1 Gabe. And next one up, we're gonna go with Jesus Never Wins versus Slap Sauce. Sean Moore, your favorite squad. What do you got in this one, Anthony?
You know what? I think they're just balanced. Like I said, we already spoke about the Carolina New Orleans game. I think, like I said, that becomes a shootout. Marshawn Lynch. I'm not saying that he's back. That's stretching it. But I do think, inside the 10, they're going to give him the ball. They've been doing that. Des Bryant had a solid game. I don't think Emmanuel Sanders get 2 touchdowns. The Buffalo's defense kind of low key good, but I think he does the job. Travis Kelce is the linchpin to that offense. Stop playing with Peterson. Come on, get him out of there. Don't tour my emotions, Sean. You got plenty of options on the bench. Just get him on up out of there. I think Ben Roethlisberger on the road against Chicago is a good matchup, but I don't think he does enough. I think they're going to try to get Le'Veon Bell more involved in the running game. AJ Green is Green Bay. Solid matchup, but in reality, like I said, there's something severely wrong with that Cincinnati offense. They lost 2 big pieces in that offensive line. It just has not been the same. There's no movement. There's no nothing. I think Devontae Adams is a good matchup that you put him in there to, do the job, especially if you know that Jordy Nelson is not going to be there. But I don't really trust Tariq Cohen. He's a solid, fast guy, but he's a 180-pound running back wide receiver.
Thank you.
And I know Jordan Howard's going to be hurt, but like I said, Tariq Cohen's a gadget guy. I mean, he might get you a touchdown here or there, but you got to kind of see how that goes. Maybe you swap out maybe Cohen and you put in Derrick Henry. I know it's Seattle. I get it. But if you're going to give a guy the ball 19 times a game rush, you just got to see what happens. And your line is built for something like that. You have a very good offensive line against a very good defensive line. Hopefully you get a better matchup and win. But for this week, give me Slap Sauce. Like I said, I might have smoke with the guy, but I can't deny that he has a good team. But begrudgingly, give me Slap Sauce.
I'm going to go with you on that one, too. I mean, I think they're just a better team. Breeze against Carolina. Big Ben is away from home. We all know how Big Ben plays when he's not at home. He's not the same quarterback. Lynch against Washington. I don't like Dez against Arizona. Personally, I don't like Dez against anybody. Dez is not that good of a receiver like he used to be. So, I'm Sean, if you can trade him, I think you should. I think you should really, really consider it because he's touchdown dependent. And, yeah, he's just not that great of a receiver anymore. I like Emmanuel Sanders against Buffalo. Kelce is Kelce. And, yeah, please move Adrian Peterson out of that lineup and go put in Zach Ertz there. Heck, put in James White if Burkhead doesn't play because that just means Whitehead's going to get even more looks. So he has plenty of options there. On the other side, Dom, first of all, whether it's DeMarco Murray, whether it's Henry, I don't like those matchups against Seattle. I don't think that's going to go well. I think this may be the Amari Cooper week because I believe week 1, if you guys told me correctly, it was Amari Cooper that was targeted a lot in the red zone. Then last week, it was Crabtree targeted a lot in the red zone. So this may be the Cooper week. Jordan Reed, listen, it may be time. It may be time with him also. And Devontae Adams. Doesn't it frustrate you when, like, as a coach, when you bench that guy and he just blows up, and then you put him in the next week, and then you put him in the next week, but then he doesn't show up when you finally put him in the lineup. That's what I think it may be what's going to happen with Devontae Adams this week. He puts him in this week because of the performance last week, and then now all of a sudden Adams doesn't show up. Don't be surprised if that's what happens. But I do love the Denver defense against Buffalo. I think they're going to put up huge numbers. Yeah, give me Slap Sauce on this. Give me them all day. I think this is actually going to be a pretty comfortable victory, I would dare say. No disrespect to Dom, it is what it is. And again, Steve apparently not studying things. He actually picks Dom in this one.
I think he just pulled these names out of a hat. For real.
He must have.
Like I know he had things to do. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna flip a coin. Like, I take him.
He must.
This ain't gambling, man. Like, be real about it.
Now we're gonna go to the next game. It's the New York Powers versus Dennis Graham, the OG, Triple OG, Dr. Evil. What do you got in this one, Anthony?
Powers, and I'll make it quick. Mariota against Seattle is not a good matchup. I think Gurley against San Francisco, like I said, San Francisco's offense might be troublesome, but their defense is young, they're fast, they get the job done. Jeffrey's a good matchup. I don't really put much faith in Austin Hooper. Dalvin Cook against Tampa Bay, like I said before, that Tampa Bay defense has really done a great job. Steve picked them up, you can see what they can do. And like I said, Minnesota without Sam Bradford, I just don't really trust them to that degree. On the opposite side, I think Brady against Houston. Houston, I think Kevin Johnson's hurt. Jonathan Joseph, the other cornerback, he's hurt also against that offense, and they're ready to go. I think that's a good matchup. Melvin Gordon, like I said, he might not do much, but he can definitely get in the end zone. 6 points, no matter how you put it. I don't think Antonio Brown has another 6 point week like he did last week. He's getting double figures. Kelvin Benjamin in the shootout, even with or without Gronk, just having Montgomery and maybe you slide in. It might sound crazy. Maybe you put Stewart instead of McCaffrey in that matchup. Yeah, just you never know. Hunter Henry did have a good game last week. He didn't score. Touchdown went to Antonio Gates. Congratulations to him. But 7 catches, 80 yards. He's involved. He's important. Still got Demaryius Thomas just in case you want to make a lot of swaps. But a lot of matchups just swear in your favor. So this week I got to go with the Powers. Anything else is insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with myself as well. This is gonna be my week to week decision. Is that second flex spot? I'm leaning towards McCaffrey, giving him one more week. Again, I just really studied him last week, so I really want to maybe see a little bit more. But man, Trevor Siemian is making it very difficult because he is slinging that ball and it's going to Sanders a lot. And at some point, the defense is going to start shifting to Sanders, which is going to make it even better for Demaryius Thomas. Plus, Demaryius Thomas, I believe he doesn't have a touchdown yet this season, which means he's due. So this may be the week. On the other side, again, I think Dennis is going to bench Mariota. I could see Kirk Cousins going in there. Kirk Cousins against Oakland. I like that matchup. So he may actually do that. Robert Kelly is injured now, so we have to see what's going to happen there. But I just think it's the Powers just right now. They're a more stacked team. But even if the Powers win this doesn't mean Dennis is out of any kind of running, because Dennis can easily go on a run. It's just right now where my team is full go. So I just think we're just the better team at the moment in time. And then we're going to go with Steve's pick. Steve, again, he wasn't studying, but let's see what he went with, the New York Powers as well. He picked myself.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then lastly is going to be the game of the week, the 2 undefeated teams. We got the Tampa's Empire versus the slightly punty Vive and Anthony. Anthony, my man, what you feeling in this game?
I'm going to go to Empire because I can't backtrack on what I said. I said they're going to go on a winning streak. Even that's against me. That's life. I think it just has good matchups this week. You know what? I honestly think that he might start Siemian over Stafford. Siemian's been on fire. It's just a good matchup. Matthew Stafford
against Atlanta? Nah, Stafford. He can't bench Stafford against Atlanta. There's no way.
But here's the thing. How does it go? I'm trying to remember the stat. The stat goes that Matthew Stafford over his career is 2-18 against teams that made the playoffs the year before. 2-18. That's a hell of a stat, and it's something saying about that playing against Atlanta at home, right? Like I said, Atlanta might not be that great, but they last week held Aaron Rodgers to 21. He's a hell of a lot better quarterback than Matthew Stafford. So what do you really expect to get from him? Like I said, with Fournette, it's an early morning game, but he's getting the touches. Their quarterback is terrible. They lost their number 1 wide receiver. They're going to ride this guy until the wheels fall off. So I expect to get him in the end zone. I don't know about Nelson, but, I think Bryant, and I do think, Antonio Brown has a big game for the Steelers, but what you worry about is okay, is he going to, be boom or bust and everything else like that? But it goes back to what I said. You have a number 1 wide receiver, Mike Evans. Whatever your number 2 gives you is always a plus. Jay Ajayi against the Jets, I think that's a really good matchup. I'm not certain what he does with Pryor, but you're hoping that he finally breaks out. But who in the world knows? On the opposite side, I think Winston has a good game against Minnesota. I'm working on my quarterback situation, but, Minnesota might have problems on offense, but they're a pretty good defensive team. Terrence West is touchdown dependent. We're going to see how that goes. Keenan Allen against KC, their pass defense isn't that great, and, they've been playing ahead. And, if they get ahead again, you really have no other option but to air the ball out, but that's what the Chargers do anyway. Kyle Rudolph against Tampa is a tough matchup. Crowell may or may not start because he is on the block right now. You got Gillislee, again, he's another guy who's touchdown dependent. There are some options there. There are some moves there that might be made, but will it be done in time to beat the Empire this week? Probably not. But I have to be honest about my team. They're 2-0. We need to find a way to get more points involved. We're doing some things that may make that possible, but as of right now, the Empire just has a better team. I can't fault them. I can't say you're going on a winning streak then lose the next week. That just makes me a liar. So this week, Tampa's in it. Let me give me the Empire.
I'm actually gonna. This is just one of those games that is just sickening because the better team is the Empire. I mean, no disrespect, Anthony, but they just are, and you agree with me on that, I think.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but I just don't like their matchups. Other than Stafford, I don't think Nelson is going to play. They're saying he's 50-50. So 50-50 means even if he does play, he's probably going to be a decoy. He's not going to be 100%. I don't like Fournette against Baltimore. That's a tough defense every year, no matter what, even without Ray Lewis. Mike Evans against Minnesota, at Minnesota. I believe that means Rhodes will be on him, covering him, pretty much had him throughout the whole game, which leaves just Jay Ajayi, because we all know I don't like Terrell Pryor. I don't think that he's that good of a receiver. So on the other side of things, though, I don't like Winston, but then I don't like Carson Palmer either. So I got to pick one or the other, I guess, unless you pick up another quarterback. But I definitely don't like Winston at Minnesota. And I look at, Terrence West against Jacksonville. Sure, I guess he can sneak in and get a touchdown. So, again, he's a touchdown-dependent back. That's what he is. But he's been getting the touchdown. So, you got to look at it that way. Keenan Allen against KC. He's just going to get a lot of targets, so you can't bench him. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, he's the interesting one, right? Because I think he possibly can't be benched this week. Devontae Parker against the Jets is a really good matchup, and so is Sammy Watkins against San Francisco. So I think that's the tempting one. If you're going to bench anybody, I know it's the name DeAndre Hopkins, I get it. But at some point in time, the name has to come secondary to the actual performance on the field. Then we got Isaiah Crowell against Indianapolis. This is what I will say. As much as I don't like Crowell, if you don't trade him this week, this should be his last week to be a chance to be a starter. After this week, he should not even be considered a starter anymore if he doesn't perform. First and foremost, you should move him because he has the good matchup, so he should be able to get value. But if you can't get value back, this is his last chance to become a starter on your team. If he can't do it against the Colts, then he just shouldn't be starting. And then you have Mike Gillislee against Houston. I like Houston's defense, so I don't know how I feel about Mike Gillislee. Again, another guy. He's very touchdown dependent. That's always risky, Anthony. Maybe you go with an extra wide receiver there or something. Maybe even Abdullah. You can even consider putting him in there. So you have some decisions to make. So I'm actually going to go with you, as sickening as it is, because I think Steve is the better team. But I just think you have so many better matchups than Steve does. So I'm going to go with you in this game. It's going to be a tight game. And Steve actually picks himself, just for the record, in this game. But that's it. So vain of him. That's so vain of him. I know it really is, though. No, it really is, though. But that's our show, everybody. We thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe, be safe. Steve will be back next week. We'll have more of the show coming. I'm 4-1. I'm looking to go undefeated this week. Stay in first place in my picks. Best of luck to everybody. Stay safe, be safe. We out. Peace.
We out of here. Good night.